Most of Asia is afraid of Japan because of what they did during World War II. If Japan were to arm itself again, then half the region would start becoming wary of them. However, Japan gave up their military after World War II ended. They decided to put down the sword and take up the pen. This is how they have maintained their influence over the decades. Japan does not need a military to be powerful. They just need to be involved with writing the rules that everybody must follow. Japan has spent decades defining the norms that other states follow and building institutions that help make other states tick. Japan followed what the US did, but without a strong military to back them up. I do not think this gets talked about enough. Japan dominates with institutional power. They focus on creating standards, legal frameworks, financing rules, and operational norms. They can do this because they built up trust with most of the states in their backyard. If the trust was not there, then it would be impossible for them to maintain the institutional power that they have created. However, institutional power is a double-edged sword. Most states in Asia have become reliant on Japanese institutions. If something were to happen to them, then these states would take an economic hit. If you want to know how badly things could go, then I highly recommend researching Dutch colonial rule in Indonesia. I made a video 3 months ago on institutions, but the YouTube algorithm never pushed it out, so nobody has seen it. Japan's institutional power has dominated trade and economic architecture in the region. This can be seen with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The US left the TPP and the Japanese took it over. I think this was a bad move for Japan in the long term. I am in alignment with the libertarian Walter Block when it comes to intellectual property rights. Nobody realizes how difficult it is to make a YouTube video without spending thousands of dollars on image rights. You are limited in what you can do, and your best course of action is to utilize artificial intelligence, or AI. It's ridiculous to think about, especially when the anime and manga industries in Japan have only gotten so big due to people not caring about breaking IP laws. But Japan has strengthened IP laws with the TPP. There are a ton of stupid laws in Japan, like anti-modding for games and making it difficult to find lyrics for songs. Japanese IP laws will likely end up damaging Japan in the long term, and I hope this gets addressed by the Japanese government at some point in the future. The Japanese government dominates infrastructure and development finance through transparency. They also focus on debt sustainability. This is how they have been able to compete with the Chinese government. The Chinese government tends to be predatory when it comes to lending money to foreign states. This does not mean that Japan is perfect, but they are at least trying to be transparent. I think transparency is one of the keys to having successful institutions. Japan supports law-based maritime behavior. They believe in freedom of navigation. The Japanese Coast Guard cooperates with Vietnam, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines. They also train people on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS for short. If you have a degree in international relations, then you have probably come across UNCLOS at some point. However, I do not know many people that are aware of UNCLOS outside of people with government jobs or those with a background in international relations. I might make a video on this topic in the future. The Japanese government views standards as part of their security because standards control future markets. Japan focuses heavily on AI governance, semiconductors, space traffic management, and cybersecurity. If they can enter these industries and sectors on the ground floor, then they will be able to help shape the laws that govern them. Japan created the free and open Indo-Pacific concept. This concept puts a huge emphasis on the rule of law in the Indo-Pacific region and opposes military power. This is a good thing for Japan, and I cannot blame them for supporting this concept. However, this is not something that I can fully endorse. I do support India having a strong military as a balance against China. I would also not oppose Sri Lanka having a stronger military either. Japan has helped shape the rules and norms that control Asia. This is better for them than increasing their military power, because it goes under the radar. There is very little risk for the Japanese government. However, this rules-based strategy has some problems. The first problem is that it relies on foreign governments to play by the rules. Foreign governments are not obligated to follow the rules. This is why I think Japan's overseas institutional power is vital to maintaining this strategy. The second biggest problem is that it heavily relies on US hard power to enforce the rules. Japan is limited in what it can do with its military power. This has created a situation where Japan and the US share the same destiny. If something were to happen to the US, then Japan's power would drastically decrease overnight. It is unclear if they would be able to recover in a timely manner from such a situation. Japan would become reliant on the JSDF to enforce the rules and norms in the Pacific. The JSDF is a powerful force, but I do not think it is a match for China. China has millions of people that they can utilize to take over the Pacific, and they are currently working on expanding their navy, while Japan is suffering from extremely low birth rates. Japan does not have the numbers, if they must do everything themselves. Japan's geopolitical power comes from the pen and not the sword. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic day or night.